There's something about that organ sometimes. Just oh my God. Just makes me feel like sometimes I'm sitting in the center of somebody's church. You know what I'm saying? I can dig it. I can dig it. It is so I want to say meditational. It's really meditational. I just like to hear it sometimes. Um, so how about I do it like this? I just want to talk. Of course, taking these lives down anyway. But yeah, let's get there. So y'all, I was reading and I came across something that I have never really had a good perspective on, and I didn't realize how important it actually is. I didn't realize how important it actually is. So I I was reading Second Samuel chapter 7. Guys, Second Samuel chapter 7. Right? I just happened to open up my Bible. That's what I was reading. And in the scripture, God speaks to Nathan about David. He tells Nathan, I want you to go tell David to build me a place where I can dwell, right? Where my spirit can dwell. Build me a place where I can be, right? And um, there were a lot of things that came with that. One of the things, God made promises um, that if, David does this, or when David does this, right, that, there are things that he would fulfill on his end. And as I was reading, and it got to a point to where finally Nathan has spoken to David about the vision, about the mission, about what he is supposed to do, and the offer, catch that, the offer of God, right? And one of the things that I love, because I don't think sometimes we realize how the interpretation of the Bible, or the adjective of the Bible, sometimes in the scripture, the difference that it makes. So, in detail, when I read, David says something along the lines of, Lord, who am I that you would look upon me and my family to do this? It even goes so far in one of the scriptures in that chapter for David to say, well, God, but you know me. So, I think there was a gratefulness, but yet still there was a, Lord, you picked me, a feeling of maybe some inadequacy or something along those lines. I don't know, right? But all I know is I could gather that God was giving David an opportunity, and I saw that David agreed, and I knew then, without knowing much, but something said covenant. The minute that David agreed to the offer of the Lord, they entered into covenant. Let me explain real quick what a covenant is, because you got different covenants, but in this content, in this way, we're talking about a covenant between, listen, a legal agreement between a divine, right, and human agreement, right? God and a person make a legal agreement, spiritual legal agreement, that, hey, I'll do this. Now, there are a few uh, different covenants, right? There's a unilateral covenant. And unilateral is a covenant where God is just, listen, there's nothing that you got to do on your end for that covenant. God has made a promise, That covenant is just what it is. But then there's a bilateral covenant, right? And the bilateral covenant is simply this: um, it's conditional, a conditional covenant. If you do this, God will do this. Yeah, a covenant. If you do this, God will do this. Both parties agree that we are going to do our part. I never thought about a covenant. That's not something that entered my mind. But to God, I gather that covenants are important. That ain't the only covenant that was made. There's plenty of covenants in the scripture that was made. Let's not forget about Abraham and how God made a covenant with him. 100-year-old man and his wife Sarah, 90 years old, unable to have child. You would say they're at the end of their life. But God makes a covenant. Tell them, hey, I want um your your tribe to be circumcised. None of y'all shall be uncircumcised. If you do this, Sarah, your 90-year-old wife who's been unable to bear a seed, to bear a child, she's going to bear a child, and his name shall be Isaac. I'm I'm gonna not only am I going to give you Isaac, but y'all are going to birth nations. Kings will come up under you. Come on, this is good. God entered a covenant. Now, one thing that I did realize, you can present a covenant with God. God presented the covenant with them. He he presented the terms. He presented the terms of the covenant. That's good. That's good. He presented the terms of the covenant, and they just had to decide, was it yay or nay. Have biblically people broken covenants? Yes. I don't know why that came up on my radar, and I'm going to continue to see what's up with this thing about covenants and why is covenants so important to God, and and I come to realize that maybe I realized I just realized some things. That's all I'm gonna say. I feel like we think the ancient God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob somehow is not the same God today. It's almost like sometimes we feel like God has um, evolved and grew with us, when and in reality God has always been God, the same today, yesterday, and forevermore. That leads me to believe that maybe God is calling people or offering people covenants, and oftentimes these covenants fulfill a need that is beyond something you can do. Sometimes these covenants and let me tell you, there be lifelong generational altering things. These be generational blessings, the blessings of Abraham. Let's go. All right, y'all. I'm out. Gotta get to work.